Hi, this is Ben Baxter with Accent Software, bringing you another video today on Business Central. This one is going to be on assembly management, and I thought we would cover kind of the processing of it rather than the setup. Today what we're going to do is we're actually going to start on a sales order. And I have a sales order that actually has two items on it that are both assembly items. So they're both created through the assembly order process within Business Central. The big difference between the two is one is set up to assemble to order, the other is assemble to stock. So the big difference is when I enter a quantity for the first line, the assemble to order, it will automatically create an assembly order in the background. And I don't actually process any information on that assembly order. I get the data set the way I need to, and then I ship it out, and that shipment process is what consumes the material and outputs the item in my inventory. So for this one, we'll just enter a quantity of 5. You'll see a process runs, and I do have a date that should have been in the past, but it created this quantity to assemble to order, and you can see that it's 5. And if I actually click on this 3 dots, it will show me the background. In this case, these are the assembly order lines. So this is what will be consumed when I ship that line. So it's going to consume 3 raw materials and add some resource cost to the output, the finished good that I'm going to ship. And it will do that process all automatically based on the number that I ship. So if I ship 1, it will consume 1 of each of these and 15 minutes of time, so 0.25 hours. If I were to ship 5, then it's going to consume all of them because it's a quantity per. And then I can open up the assembly order itself. We'll look at this in a little bit bigger window on the assemble to stock. But it's the header information, again, where I cannot make changes to it. It won't let me post. There's actually no posting option up here. So I can't do my output from here. I have to do it on the sales line by simply shipping it. Now, in contrast, an assemble to stock item, if I enter a quantity, does not fill in the assemble to order field, and that's because it's exactly that. It's an assemble to stock. I either have them available to go in inventory, or if it's like a lot for lot type process, then maybe I'll group up my demand and then make a single assembly order to output all of those to cover the demand for a period of time. Handled slightly differently, this one is more geared toward using the planning worksheet to generate those assembly orders. I can still do it manually. We'll do that today just so that you can see the process. Very different, but the setup of these two items is very similar, and we'll actually take a look at that. Let's just drill in. I said I'm not going to cover setup, but we'll look at one field that controls this. So on my replenishment tab where I have it set to assembly, this assembly policy is the one thing that controls it. So they both have assembly bombs, but one is set to assemble to stock, the other assemble to order. That is the only difference between those two items, and the outcome is very different in terms of how it's processed in the system. All right, so let's close out of our sales order. We'll come back to our main screen and we'll drill into the assembly order list. So here's my assembly order that was created from that sales order. What we're gonna do is create a new one. I am doing it manually. Normally I would do this through a planning worksheet, but we'll do it this way just so that you can see it get processed. Key in our location, we'll give it a date in the future so I don't get those date warnings, and we'll do the 10 that I entered on the sales order. You'll notice as soon as I enter the quantity, the lines get populated. So it is pulling in the assembly bomb at the time you validate that quantity. So as soon as I know the quantity that I need to make, it fills the line. Now, if you make a mistake, right? So if I meant to hit 1, I can simply come back and adjust it, and it will update the lines for me. So every time I make a change to that quantity, then the system will update the lines based on that information. Now you'll notice I get this little blue bar at the top. This is because some of my items are low on inventory, and so if the other demand that I have in my system happened first, I'm going to stock out and I'm going to have an availability issue. Now in my case, each of these have enough inventory to cover it, so it's not an emergency. That's why it's kind of a light blue bar. But if I go and look at it and you scroll down to see the component lines, you'll notice the expected available inventory at the end for 2 of them is negative. We have enough to cover it on this order, so we have greater than 10 available in inventory, but we have gross requirements exceeding what is in inventory. So that's why it's kind of a light warning to say you could process this right now and no problems, but if you wait on it and those other demand sources happen first, then you're going to stock out when it comes to this. Now, if you're using MRP and the planning properly, then that's not an issue because the system's going to pick up this demand as well as all that other demand, and it's going to give you suggestions to keep your inventory in check. So hopefully you're doing that. I have other videos covering that process as well. To process this, I simply update my quantity to assemble. So if I wanted to do a partial, let's do 2, you'll notice my quantity to consume for the lines gets updated. So I do very little processing on the lines themselves. It's really everything is controlled by this quantity and quantity to assemble. And then I use my posting date to update when that output is happening. When I post the output, it will output the 2 and it will consume the quantity required to make those 2 of each of the components, as well as adding the time, in this case another 15 minutes of time, so half an hour for the 2 units. And then it will track for me how many we've made versus how many are remaining for this particular order. So that is assembly orders. If you have questions on this process or anything else within Business Central, please reach out to our Accent Software support team. We love to help people better utilize their software investment. And so if that's you, we'd love to talk to you and help you out.